Welcome to this course on foundational skills for writing a university lab report. Over the coming modules, we're going to break down every single component of a lab report, from structure and hypothesis writing all the way through to building your reference list in APA 7. In this first module, we're covering the big picture, the 8 core sections of a lab report, what each one does, and, here's something most students don't know, the order you should actually write them in. Let's start. A lab report is not an essay, it's not a personal reflection, it's a scientific document, and it follows a very specific structure that is used by researchers and journals all over the world. That structure exists for one reason, so that anyone who reads your report can find what they need, evaluate your methodology, and potentially replicate your study. When you follow the structure correctly, your marker knows exactly where to look for your hypothesis, your statistical results, and your limitations. That makes your work easier to assess and much easier to score well on. The structure also forces you to separate different types of thinking. What you did goes in the method, what you found goes in results, what it means goes in the discussion. These are genuinely different cognitive tasks, and keeping them in separate sections makes your report clearer and more professional. Let's go through the 8 sections. I'll give you the name, the purpose, and roughly what each one contains. Section 1, the title. This is a concise description of your study. Not a question, a statement. Around 10 to 15 words. It should tell the reader exactly what was studied and what the key variables were. Section 2, the abstract. This is a standalone summary of the entire report, background, hypothesis, method, results, and conclusion, all in about 150 to 250 words. A reader should be able to read just the abstract and understand the full study without reading anything else. Section 3, the introduction. This is where you build the case for your study. You review the relevant background literature, identify a gap or question in that research, and end with your hypothesis. Think of it as telling a story that leads the reader logically to your prediction. Section 4, the method. This is the most precise section. You describe exactly who your participants were, what materials you used, what your design was, and what procedure participants followed, in enough detail that another researcher could replicate your study exactly. Section 5, results. Here you report what you found, descriptive statistics, tables, figures, and the outcomes of your statistical tests. Critically, you do not interpret results here, you just report them. Section 6, discussion. Now you interpret. You connect your findings back to the literature, you address your hypothesis, and you discuss what your results mean, their limitations, and where future research should go. Section 7, conclusion. A brief standalone summary of your key finding and its significance, usually just a paragraph or two. And Section 8, the reference list. Every source you cited in the body of your report, formatted correctly in APA 7th edition. Some reports also include an appendix at the end for raw data, ethics consent forms, or supplementary materials your marker needs to see, but that would interrupt the flow of the report. Here's one of the most valuable things I can tell you, and it's something most first-year students don't figure out until their 3rd or 4th report. The order you write sections is not the same as the order they appear in the final document. Most students open a blank document, see Introduction at the top, and start writing the introduction. This is one of the most common mistakes. The introduction requires you to know exactly what your study found and what it means, so you can't write it properly until everything else is done. Here's the order experienced scientific writers use. Start with the method. You know what you did. It's concrete, it's specific, write it first. Then write results. You have your data, report what you found. Then write the discussion. With your results fresh, interpret them, compare to the literature, and address limitations. Now write the introduction. You know the full story of your study, so you can write background that leads logically and precisely to what you actually investigated. Write the abstract last. It summarizes everything, so you can't write it until everything else exists. And then revisit and refine your title. Take this on board because it genuinely changes the quality of lab reports. The introduction you write after completing the discussion is dramatically better than the one you write at the start. Before we finish, let's briefly cover the formatting conventions for APA 7, because getting these right is part of your mark. Font, 12-point Times New Roman, or 11-point Calibri. Both are acceptable in APA 7. Spacing, double space throughout. That includes the reference list, no exceptions. Margins, 2.54 centimeters on all sides, that's 1 inch. Page numbers, top right corner of every page. Headings, main section headings, method, results, discussion, are centered and bold. Subsection headings, like participants and materials, are left aligned and bold. And here's one that catches students out. You do not use the heading Introduction. Your introduction paragraph follows straight after the title of your report, with no heading. One important APA 7 update. If you've used APA 6 before, you'll remember the words running head in the header of student papers. APA 7 removed that. You just have a shortened title flush left and the page number flush right. And always check your unit outline. Some Australian university courses have specific requirements that override or add to APA 7 defaults, different word limits per section, specific cover sheet formats, or particular referencing requirements. When in doubt, your unit guide wins. Let's recap what we've covered. A lab report has 8 core sections: title, abstract, introduction, method, results, discussion, conclusion, and references. Each section has a distinct purpose and a distinct type of content. Mixing them up, interpreting results in the results section, for example, or putting procedure details in the introduction, is one of the most common ways students lose marks. And the smart writing order is method first, then results, discussion, introduction, abstract, and title last. In the next module, we're going to dig into the introduction's most important element, the hypothesis, what it is, how to write one properly, and why most student hypotheses aren't quite right. I'll see you there.